Well, we're back in the garage again, working on old grain. I know I haven't showed a whole lot of this thing, but we're about to start showing a lot of this thing because there's a few little things that need to get buttoned up. I got the Cummins swap and everything all done last winter, but there's still a few things that need to be done. And on today's agenda, we're getting the fuel return line all done because it's terrible right now. Let me show you. So currently at the moment, it's just a dangly hose, which I mean, it returns fuel to the tank. This has the tank behind the seat. So, I mean, technically it works, but it's hokey. So I have bent up a piece of aluminum tube and I've got it all. There's already holes in the frame. So I got some cushion clamps and a piece already bent. So let's get it installed and we'll be much better looking down here if anybody wants to crawl under here. So let's get it. Something like that. I'm gonna go under. Alrighty, look at that. So we should have enough standoff here. Shouldn't be rubbing on the frame. That's gonna be nice. I'm gonna throw where it crosses the frame and heads thatward, where it heads inward. I'm gonna take some of this old stuff, cut a chunk, slice it in half, and wrap it around up there. So that should be good. But let me go find a bucket or something. We'll cut this return line, find some clamps, we'll get it hooked up there. And then that one up in there is gonna be terrible. So here we go. Something like that maybe. Now I don't have, on here you can see there's no, what would you call it, a bead or whatever to help retain the hose. But this is just return back to tank. If anything at all, this has suction on it because the tank, the fuel cap that I'm running seals very well, and the fuel leaving the tank, the engine pulls a little bit of a suction. So we shouldn't really have much pressure on here. If we have pressure, like I said, most of what I think is going to be on this hose is suction. Now, if this was a pressure hose, yeah, I'd probably be figuring out a way to get a bead put on that. So, anyway, should be all right. So we'll get this tightened up, and we'll get that other one done. Like I said, that one up in there is going to be a pain. I'm probably not going to film the one up in there. It's a tight space, and I think it's gonna be a pain to film. So you'll just have to trust me. Okay, well, you can see where that hard line comes in. The rubber line connects onto it. So that's pretty slick. Let me show you over here. So I've got this, it bends up, crosses the frame. I wrapped it in some rubber line, and then it's hard to see where it goes across. The frame rail on the top, I got it wrapped with some rubber as well. But that is that. Look at that, huh? It's almost like I knew what I was doing. Well, are you guys just as surprised as I am that I'm in here changing valve cover gaskets? No. The 12 valve Cummins valve cover gaskets are terrible. We all know this. It's not a surprise that they're terrible. But ever since I did the valve stem seals in this thing, the whole top of this has just been kind of damp with oil. And this one in particular, the number 3 valve cover, when I did it, kind of folded it over on itself and it was leaking like crazy. So we're just gonna put all new ones on it. I'm not gonna mess with it anymore because I do not want oil leaks on this thing. I've already got a fuel leak from a crappy injector. the return line on it. Somebody cross-threaded it in there and the banjo bolt doesn't go in there straight. So anyway, we'll get these changed out and I will show you what I've got done on my charge cooler. We'll go for a test drive. All right, well, we got those changed out, and probably a good thing too. Those are all Ford blue now. Kind of blends in. Anyway, so I've got this all mounted. I took the liberty to weld up all my seams on that. I don't know why, it took forever and it sucked to do. But I've got it in there, I've got it wired up, running it off this run relay right there. So anytime the key's on, that fan's running. And then I've brought these hoses over. The back hose still returns down to the lower radiator hose, and this feed line now comes off here. Don't worry, this is all just temporary. If this seems to work, I will get some 5/8 tubing and bend it all up nice to look less hokey. Anyway, we're feeding off this one, that cold side of the block down there, coming up here, running over to our heat exchanger. We're coming over this, and then we're going back in. So let's go for a test drive. I don't have any sensors in it yet. Eventually, if we get a good enough day out there, I'll take my exhaust probe out, put it here, go make a pull, and then move it over here, go make the same pull. We'll see if the intake temperatures are different. But for now, when this thing was running before and got up to temperature, you'd put your hand on here, and this was engine coolant temperature. So if we go make some pulls and get all done, if we can stick our hand in that and know it's noticeably cooler, should be better. Like I said, this can't be any worse than what we had. So let's go give it a whirl. Okay, so I went and test drove this thing, got all the air to purge out of the cooling system. This thing, the fan is pulling tons of heat. I mean, you can set your hands here and it's cold outside. You can almost roast marshmallows on the air coming out of here. It's toasty. But I think we're gonna have to get the pyrometers back in the intake to do some actual testing, because you can grab onto these lines and I don't feel much of a difference. So, but we'll get my buddy back down here with his thermocouplers. We'll put them in the intake. We'll go make some polls and see if this thing is doing any better. Remember, we had a 70 or a 75 degree drop between the hot side of the turbo and the intake, which isn't terrible considering we were just using hot engine coolant. So we'll get that tested. So that's the update on that. Stay tuned for that. When he gets back down here, we'll test that and I will let you know. So I know that was a quick one today, but this, like I said, this thing, we just got to get a bunch of little things done. We had to get that fuel return line done. The next little thing I've got to get done is I've got to get the AC compressor mounted and start working on that. And we need to build a fuel tank for this oddball gap we got here. Don't worry. Everybody who has seen this truck has asked me what this gap is for. I don't know what it's for. It's going to be for a fuel tank. That's what we're putting there. If I did my measurement right, I think we can fit about a 95, 96 gallon fuel tank right there. So, and I mean, maybe we could do a fuel tank. Maybe I'll do the bottom half as a fuel tank, the top half, maybe some pass-through storage or something. But anyway, if you want to stay tuned and keep up with all the updates on Old Green, you better subscribe and like, and maybe hit the bell or whatever that does. So, but this will be on the channel. We got a whole bunch of other projects that got to get done. So stay tuned, subscribe and like if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one.